Okay. Welcome everybody to game 2 of the final for the COVID-19 Cup between Fwib and Abyss. In this game, Fwib has the white pieces, and they're starting with the same opening, unsurprisingly.
Might see Capstone on this move to change things up, but we might not. Nope, it looks like they're continuing the same pattern.
Repeating. And now, do we get a wall and capstone in the same place, which would be C2? Or are we going to be wild and get a D2 capstone?
Oh, C2, nope. There we go. It's a mirror of last game.
Except for it's different orientation, because it's tack, so every opening can be mirrored 4 times.
This time. All right, that's what I was expecting him to do. Then he'll probably go towards for the horizontal threat until the capstone comes down and blocks it. Then I'll go for vertical threat. It's that positioning of those black flats being at that diagonal to each other with an open spot in between. That really is a solid positioning for a capstone to go in at the beginning of a game.
Yeah.
It opens up a lot of opportunity for that capstone to move and stay in the game and not get isolated from the rest of the action. And so it's what I think about a lot of times when I'm playing is where to put that capstone, and that's always a really good place to put them. And I think Fwib picked a great spot to put his capstone because it can help him out with the horizontal and the vertical threats. That horizontal threat of blacks going right there.
Yeah, so in this position, I think white wants to move e4 to d4 rather than move the cap down. But moving the cap down is just as good. Is also good, but moving the flat over gives a nice vertical threat while still being protected by the capstone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. So they're just playing flats. White, I think, and because everyone's just playing flats and contiguous patterns, I think it's better for white when this happens. Black's main goal is to interrupt this orderly playing of flat stones in the opening, is my philosophy.
Yeah, Black really wants to disrupt this, whether he plans for a capture war to win that, or if he plans for something else to happen. If he wants to cut off this threat immediately and go for E1, it depends on what he wants to do here.
Yeah. He could also play C2 to D2, making a hard cap, which then he could move the whole thing up to D3, and that would be a pretty powerful capstone. He would be sacrificing a couple flats, but black has 3 flats to sacrifice, so that might be an idea of something to do. Or you can play a wall. I guess taking on the idea of sacrificing flats. It's a little less exciting, but
the wall is interesting. That's a really early wall to be playing at this point of the game. but it is a solid position because it can cut off both the horizontal and vertical threats that white is making.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not sure
then,
feel about white surrounding the capstone there.
in response, white is looking to build up his threats on BBC far away from the wall. Okay, so yeah, the idea is the wall just kind of cuts everything off.
I mean, granted, he could continue on there and build at f4 or something, so he could eventually bring that capstone down for another attack threat. Here,
Yeah.
I'd be more likely to see him place at b3, b4. Yeah, a4 is what I meant. a3 or a4.
Yeah, because just try to get threats all over the place.
Also cutting off Black's threats.
So Black could keep moving the wall over and then crush it with its cap. Over on c3.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a good play.
So it wouldn't be. It would be terrible to just do it right now, like move after move. But it's something I can envision happening, like gradually. As he used, yeah.
Okay, so Black's wanting to keep that vertical threat from happening here.
Yeah, exactly. And the key with making that diagonal is that wherever white plays, Black can connect and make a contiguous thingy.
That's the technical terms, the thingy.
Technical term, yes. Exactly. I'm big on the terminology here. Yeah. I still like the idea of Black making a hard cap, but maybe not as much now as before.
Yeah, I don't think it would be worth it with all the prisoners that it would have to keep. Oh, it looks like Fwib has disconnected temporarily. Hopefully he comes back soon because it is his turn.
Yeah. He also has a couple minutes.
Okay, he's back.
Okay. That would have been anticlimactic. Yeah, so the hard cap, doing the hard cap and the wall wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. I'm interested in what Fwib is going to do here. If he's going to play at like a3 or a5.
I would probably
F4.
I'd probably move my cap up to d4 because I wouldn't like that. There's probably no reason that it's necessary to do that now, but I would want to do that eventually, and I would be worried that I would lose track and it would run away from me. Because I just think that would be such a powerful position for White's capstone.
Yeah, that is a good spot for it. Covers up a lot of Black's
On the other hand, if he does that, then Black can fill in on d5 behind it and make a horizontal threat. So maybe it's not a great idea. Maybe he wants to go f5 first to try to preemptively, or do that. That feels ineffective because now Black can just go on b2 and yeah. But I guess get some flats in there so that you can interrupt any road threats if absolutely necessary. It's interesting. Fwib has been using a little more time for the opening. It's possible that that's just because of connectivity issues, but
or maybe because he's white, he's being less reactive and more proactive with what he's trying to do his approach.
Yeah, so
it does look
Abyss
like
did the obvious thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that move. But now, but the more I look, I assume d5 comes, which is kind of brutal.
I don't know, because we'll see if d5 comes up, then we can see a3 from white, which would be attack threat. And so black would have to stop what it was doing in order to deal with that, which would probably be c2
Move the
plus into
cap up,
c3,
yeah.
which
And
would
the
also start building a vertical
threat
threat
of his own, yeah.
And so black's in a good position here. I think we're seeing that just the same as last game. Black was in a really good position at the beginning of the game. And we'll see
Yeah.
if white can turn this around, kind of like Abyss did in game one.
Yeah. Interesting thing. Might just be seeing things that don't exist, but I wonder if the reason that black's been getting good positions early is that they feel the freedom to maybe place a wall or do moves that give up flats because of the Comey.
That could be it. But I know that personally for my games, I didn't pay attention to Comey very much. But at this level, I'm sure they are counting flats as they go.
But the other thing is that I know that Abyss has played with Comey a lot, and he likes Comey. And Fwib is just really good at all around it. Is Fwib currently number 2?
I'm on like the unofficial attack rankings.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's not super accurate anymore because people don't play as often, and they're often playing against bots.
Yeah.
No. Currently, Apple Monkey Man is number 2. Fwib's number 3.
Okay, but Fwib has some inactivity penalty. So yeah, he just gained a lot in the last rating list because he played. So for the last rating list, I became active again, and the way No Hat has the inactivity penalty, it makes it feel really good to come back because you get a big rating boost, even though it's completely fake.
Yeah, I had that same thing happen to me as well. I think I jumped like 200 points. So now I'm number 4.
Yeah. Abyss is really thinking. It's interesting that No Hat is so much higher rated than I think he beats Artbot a lot. Because
that's how I used to climb also. And that's part of the reason why the unofficial playtech ranking is just that. It's unofficial because there's ways to game the system using the bots. Playing with just no bots included, I think somebody has the data somewhere with that.
That would be me.
Yeah.
So
that's you. That changes things drastically.
This is exactly the reason why when I do a tournament like this, I run the algorithm without including the bots, so that for when I'm doing seeding. So the seeding for this tournament didn't include the bots in the rankings.
Which is a smart way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I have the list. But the other thing is because nobody's played enough games without including bots, so I don't have the inactivity penalty, which means, for example, Turing is still number 2.
Yeah.
But not
in years.
Not counting Turing, we have No Hat, Fwib, Sim, Abyss, Alley, and then we start getting a lot of inactive players. No Hat is still more than 50 points, about 50 points higher rated than anyone else. So,
well, Abyss has taken quite a bit of time on this turn.
Yeah, but he's Abyss. He takes quite a bit of time on the opening.
I think this has been like 5 minutes for this, though.
Yeah. So I think the obvious move is d5. The question is, what else is he thinking about? He might be thinking about moving c2 plus right now and cut off white. But the problem with that is, if white gets in d5, then that kind of throws a wrench in the works for black's threats on 4, 5, 6. And so I think very clearly the best move is d5, but also Abyss is a better tech player than I am, so take that with a grain of salt. The other thing about playing, could also play flat on c1. Oh, I was just in time. He played it flat on c1. Okay, and the reason to do that is then by moving his cap to c3, it creates an immediate attack threat. And so he's really developing the vertical threat. And I think the idea is with the horizontal threat, even if white plays on d5, black can then play d6 and get onto the 6th row. Whereas with the vertical threat, he really has to get cut through on the c file there, or not much is going to happen. Yeah, it's interesting that Fwib is using significantly more time as white because, yeah, he has to plan what to do.
I think that move C1 really threw him for a loop, and he wasn't expecting that. So he's I would have played A2 here because that gives that same horizontal threat, but also starts building towards the vertical. Granted, it ends up the same, requiring either a capture or a wall.
So probably, yeah, the cap comes over. Now, I assume black starts working on the... Oh no, black might... Abyss maybe should play d4 here, because that blocks white... That does a little bit to block white's horizontal threat, and also sets up... It also keeps the vertical threats going for black, because he can capture on d3 with his capstone to fill in there.
That would be thinking quite a few moves ahead to really plan that far out, and it might give white an opportunity to come back since he does have the more momentum at this point.
Yeah, but the key is that it also, by playing on d4, you're also blocking white's most obvious way forward. Or at least, you don't... As black, I wouldn't really want white to get a flat on d4, because then that's really scary.
I also wouldn't want white to get a flat on c6.
Yeah. But that still takes 2 moves to get over to a6. Yeah, the other thing, black could just play c5 and try to get his horizontal threat going again. It's a few moves off, but it's also pretty open.
It's likely what white is looking for at this point as well. Probably expecting that move and has something to counter it. I do like d4 here for black. That is a good move, what you mentioned earlier. It does help in the long run.
Yeah.
d5 is probably the move he wants to make to keep that pressure on.
And it's an interesting question. Does he want to play d5 or c5 if he's going that route? He went with c5. So now we see, is white defensive or offensive? Does he play d4 or d5? So he played a bit more defensively. But the problem is now black going... I guess black could still go... So black could play d4, and then if white captures immediately, black could either play a new wall or come through with his wall. On the other hand, if white went on f4, he would still be... Black could move c3 over to cut off everything.
Yeah, I really like d6 here, which is what Abyss ended up doing, because it brings that immediate result down. Also, it opens up options with c6 in case there's another capture.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and it moves his threat further away from white's capstone, which is always good. So do we see f5 to just make a direct threat, or...
I think he'll be a little more calculating than that and try to do something else, because he knows there are multiple ways to cut that threat off. Probably with e6 to the left to cover up d6.
Yeah, no, what I actually, I can see, so he did do that. Now if fwib moves his cap down to c5, up to c5, yeah, now it's if black at some point, we get into this danger zone where if black plays on c6, white can make the seemingly defensive move of capturing with his cap on d6, but all of a sudden he's creating a cap throw into the corner to complete his up-down road.
I mean, and black also does have a attack threat here if he plays at c4.
Yeah, that's true. I did not see that. Or c2 for that matter, but
yeah, but c4 would be the
c4
more
is the more robust
place.
way. Yeah.
Abyss is probably looking into that right now and trying to determine if that's a good play.
This is already down
what
to
white is going to do.
6 minutes. So he went for it. How does white stop that? Okay. Yeah, so I think the
Abyss
idea
has to be playing a5 here, I think. I think that's got to be his move here.
Yeah, but it gets flats in there, but it doesn't cut it off because white can connect everything up by a4 right, and he wouldn't want to make that immediately, but the key is that if he sets up a threat by playing c6 and a2, or by playing d4 and f4, then he sets up a threat where that is the that is the final attack move, and then he's forcing, yeah.
But the momentum is on Abyss's side if he plays at a5 here, and white just continues to go for his road, then he's going to have to react to black's attack threat before he's able to make his own.
That is true. I wonder if we see... So, if Abyss plays a flat on a5, do we see a wall from fwib on c2 just to try to shut everything down? Because white doesn't really need connectivity at that point, but black does, so it might be a good place for a wall.
Okay. I might be slightly crazy here, but if Abyss doesn't end up playing a5 here, and white plays a2, I think he's on his way to Tinue.
Yeah, that's very few options because, well, no, if the problem is I think black can play a wall on a... Okay, he went there anyway. So, so now what does white do? White could play a wall on c2, which would be... Okay, white did something. So white's going for a threat of his own, but black can make an immediate threat by playing c2, and then I assume that's what happens. And then after black plays c2, then what does white do? White has to capture somewhere. And
white would capture probably with b5.
Yeah, probably. But then he's creating a kind of terrifying number of captives, because two is a terrifying number of captives to have under a flat zone. Okay, black did not make the immediate threat. Yeah, so he decided to neutralize white can no longer connect things through b4, but he also gave up on his own threat. I guess he decided it wasn't concrete enough. Now does white play a flat on d4 to try to just move, because with the idea of black moves his capstone one way, then you want to move the action the other way?
I do really like d4 here for white. I think that's probably his best move.
Yeah, if he goes d4...
For the vertical threat, for the horizontal threat, it does both. And
yeah.
it helps block the black horizontal threat as well.
Exactly. Yep, he did it. So now, will black be defensive or offensive? So white has 2 threats.
No attack yet, but yeah, he's building towards those threats.
Yeah. But the key is that because there's 2 of them, white can't really do anything now to block both of them. So he might as well work on his own threats and react to whichever threat black makes. Like, so I can imagine him playing c3 to build his own vertical threat, and then just bank on the fact that whichever way Fwib decides to go, he can respond. But
I mean, if he starts building his own threat, Fwib is going to make his threat first, and so black's going to have to be reactive.
Yeah. But the point is that even, like, if black reacts... Okay, so black blocks the threat there. Now Fwib can still make a threat on d1, and black still has to be reactive. And the difference is that he's still 2 moves away from making a road making a threat instead of 1. On the other hand, he's probably forced white to make the less potent of the threats. But Fwib's position is looking pretty good here. I would certainly prefer to be white. Yeah,
this down to just 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay. So that cuts it off. And he keeps... Notice that he keeps his weak flat on flat capture next to his wall so that white can't really pick it up very easily.
Works well for him. Now what white can do is place at e1 to make sure that he doesn't use that wall to capture that again. So he can place at e1 and then at d2 and then capture that flat there. And so that can be sort of like a play ahead of time to pin that wall and to get
but
that.
He didn't do that.
Back.
He's just filling in flats.
I mean, that spot is okay to capture d3 again. So if he plays at e1 on the next turn, he would basically be pinning that wall.
Maybe we see Abyss play on c2, and then next turn he can bring his cap over to c3 and cut off, and more solidly cut off the threat.
There's that c2 move.
But the cost of moving his cap over is all of a sudden white's looking better on the A and B ranks.
Okay, I like d2 here.
Yeah, because just keep everything tight.
Yeah, it's attack for white, and it pins that wall still.
But the thing, if he does that, then black moves his cap over to c3, stopping the attack threat and making a attack threat of his own. So I guess Fwib has to decide if he wants black's capstone to move over to c3. Because I don't see... If he makes the threat, I don't see anything else happening.
Yeah.
This down to 2 minutes and 25 seconds.
Going a4 to a5 would effectively cut off that that road threat, though, for black. and do work to help build up more horizontal threats for white. So I think that he can afford to play at d2 here and get that capstone to move over to c3.
Uh-huh. So we did that, and I assume the cap comes over.
Yep, there it is.
And then, are we saying a4 up is the most likely?
That's what I'm thinking. I like that move a lot. Well, capstone
Or
goes down
that.
instead. I was looking at that option too, but I didn't think it was as good. But I'm probably wrong here. There's a reason I'm not in the finals, and they are.
So Abyss could play on b3, making attack threat. He could also play on c5 to try to get some flats in the action to try to make it less likely that white will get a Tinue.
He could also just go ahead and capture b5 at this point, because the capstone is no longer able to just go back over and recapture.
Oh yeah, he can skim it off. Worst case scenario.
Oh,
he captures in that direction. Oh, because
that is not what I was expecting, but now he's got looking more towards the horizontal threat, I guess.
Well, he's looking both ways. It's not an immediate threat, but an immediate threat could have, like, yeah, immediate threats aren't always useful if they can just be shut down. So what does white do here? The other thing is, because black has the block of 4 in the corner there, let's say white plays c5, black plays b4, and then white captures back. Black could capture from a5 or b6, maintaining all the connectivity into the corner. So that's quite nice.
Double tack threat, which would be Tinue, but I don't think that fwwwwwibib is going to make that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a powerful position right there with those 4 in the corner.
Okay, so he's playing his wall immediately.
Smart move.
So does Abyss throw that stack?
Yeah, definitely.
Like that?
There's
because that makes a threat. His 2 captives under a flat aren't immediately next to a wall or a cap. Now, do we see white's cap go up to c5?
I think it's more likely to see captures from the E file. Oh, the capstone goes up.
Because now that, well,
captives are available for the capstone, but he'd have to leave some of those black flats behind.
Is he f6 there? Yeah, he does. Okay, so now I think black needs to fill in on c4 so that to pin white's capstone. I guess he could. No, I don't see anything else making sense because you don't want white getting in there. All of a sudden, this position is looking very good for black. Yep.
No, never mind.
Did that.
Yes, c4 comes in.
And that's also an immediate attack threat. So now that moves. Just keeps filling in. Yeah, now black has the initiative. Black doesn't have an. Yeah. So if white wants those captives, he has to do it now. So like an option for white, he wants to free both. So he would want to leave, I think, 3 black stones behind, move over. Then even if black but black could move them then to c3. So he can't move 3, otherwise c3 would be a threat. So he could only leave 2 behind.
White is also terrifically behind on flats. So black is up +1, which means it's up +4.
Yeah. And Abyss is not shy about winning on flats.
I think that maybe a move here capturing d6 would be the play.
For who?
For fwib.
Okay.
Because he captures d6 and black doesn't go for that vertical threat, does something else instead, or he does go for the vertical threat, then white can use that wall to break that up. But then he can eventually capture that stack on d5 with the capstone to be able to run it down.
Yeah.
And
I don't
also
know.
run it to the side.
I think defensively he might want to play b3 because
b3 would be a good move for him, I think.
If black gets b3, that's ugly.
And then again, we also have the potential for black getting a road by capturing d4 with maybe the piece that's currently on f4 if he plans ahead. Something like that could happen because that's sort of sneaky there because we're really paying attention on the AB file right now.
Yeah.
And we're not really looking at D, which is also very close to road.
Exactly. Yeah, black is in a very strong position here. So
but
if white,
Abyss does only have 2 minutes left.
yeah. If white plays on b3, then what would Abyss do?
That's a good question.
He left 3 behind. So the move here, I think, is to move all 3 of those to c6, because that makes attack threat that's very missable. Which means that white would essentially have to throw the capstone over to f5, and then that leaves
I do like that move of
the
moving
center
all 3 to c6.
scarily open. On the other hand, fwib thought for so long that I'm sure he calculated that move and decided that it was worth it. Or not. I mean, the problem with that is now white can throw his cap to the left and cover up C, B, and A5. Which is, or throw it less far, but yeah, now white's back in the game, I think. So black can move. Black should probably go b3, making a threat. Because
or
white
use the double stack on a5 to throw down.
Oh yeah, to just get super flat count. But the problem is, well, then if white fills in on I guess he can
a5.
throw 1 down. Yeah, so if white fills in on a5, then all of a sudden he's getting horizontal threat again. But I guess if he goes a5, then Abyss would probably go f6 and just kind of end everything.
Yeah. For him too, because he can start building a vertical threat on the F line.
And he's still +1 flat, which is +4, so yeah. Black is +4 on flat. And assuming that they are playing their stones systematically, then they have the same number of reserves left. So if white doesn't want to go on a5, what do they do? Yeah, the problem is white needs a5 and f6, and they can't get both of them. And the problem with vertical threats is there's a huge connectivity problem with d3. So white's really got to reach here.
Yeah. Goes
So
for
I played
f6
there.
first, which is interesting. Because now black can just fill in again on a5.
Yeah, black has to go a5. Nothing else makes sense. And then what would white do? Because that's a very solid threat.
White would probably have to wall again on b3.
Yeah, so he does that. He could... No, he can't... So he could move his capstone over, then when black fills in at b5, he could move his stack from c5 over. Would be the other option to avoid playing a wall. Oh. No, that's not any good. Also, black might be thinking about how he can smash the wall on c4 with tack so that he can do that without losing his prisoners. Okay, I assume we get b5. Oh.
That's really interesting.
I see a flat win for black in our future. Can white make any road threats?
No, he just really wanted to cut off that potential.
Well, the point is he was up 4 flats. So by playing a wall there, are we going to get another? Does that just stop any ideas of roads?
I mean, there's still a lot of foundation there for a vertical road for white. The horizontal is pretty much gone, but I mean, he's got a lot going for vertical there, and now looks like he's building horizontal for down the 1 and 2 columns, 1 and 2 files.
Yeah. So I assume at this point, Abyss just keeps playing flats because he wants to fill up the board so that white has to start making dubious captures.
Yeah.
So now the next step of this strategy is to go for the threat of a board fill. So I assume that we get black playing on b3,
which would also pin the capstone from crushing. That he could crush anyway because it would still just capture all the way down to a1.
Yeah. We could also see f3 if Abyss thinks that the vertical threat is more dangerous. No, we're stopping the horizontal. Well, yeah. And kind of just showing that. So now I assume we get white playing f3, but the point is that white plays let's say white plays f3, black plays another flat, and then white has to capture to prevent a board fill. And we can get this pattern where just white can keep playing, black can keep playing flats, and white has to keep capturing to prevent a board fill. And all of these captures end up being pretty dubious, and it's just downhill.
I see fwib throwing c4 over to a4. Sure, it gives the double blacks on b4, but it also gives him a captured white back and able to recapture on a3 as well.
Yeah, that's an idea. But the problem, if he does that, then black can take those 2 flats and throw them to c4, d4 with tack.
Yeah, that is true.
But essentially, to have any chance here, what fwib has to do is he has to make things get excited. he has to make a flurry of captures happen, so all of a sudden we get a tactical position from a bunch of stacks, because having this fairly level position really favors the person who's winning on flats, which is.
I see E1 or F1 here. Now, the reason I say that is because then on a following turn, he can capture up with D2, and then he's got attack. And then the wall can't move over to D2, because then it would automatically lose. The capstone would have to go over to D3, I mean. Or other captures happening higher up along the 5 and 6 files. But yeah, there's a lot of potential there if he places at E1 or F1.
Yeah.
It would be cutting things pretty close, though, because then there would be only one space left over before the board fill.
But if he's planning a capture, then that's okay.
I don't know what the point of that particular move was.
Oh, he moved.
Interesting.
No, I mean. Oh, so Black didn't. He went for attack threat. I guess he frees a captive at the same time.
And White can't move the capstone at all.
Yeah. Okay,
so it looks like there's got to be a wall or something there.
Yeah, which is then just going even further in the hole. And then Black can just keep his his wall on C5 and just be ready to make a +2 flat move if he ever needs to.
And additionally, he cut off that vertical threat that White could have been building towards.
Yeah, exactly. Because he can move. Yeah. Okay, this I think this should just be winning for Black.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Okay, so he moves the wall over. Now I assume Black just resumes playing flats.
If Black gets to play at B5, then it's another attack threat.
Yeah, exactly. So B5? I mean, I guess. Yeah, B5 is attack threat 2 ways. They're similar ways, but. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to go B5. Well, okay, so what White has gotten in a position to free his captives, but Black has now moved the action away from the A file, and so it doesn't really matter that White can free his captives.
I think White has to capture B6 with C6.
He could also move his cap over, leaving one behind.
Or throw that wall stack on A4 to cover up B4 and C4.
Oh, and leave a White behind. Yeah.
Yep.
Then. Oh, and Black can't crush because White has a threat. Okay, this is somewhat interesting again. Yeah, that's the move to make things interesting.
Yeah.
But
he's still so far ahead on flats they could just go for the board fill more.
Yeah.
And once that happens, then he could just place at A4. Then that capstone is pinned again, and there's attack threat.
Yeah.
Own moves.
So it did move the cap over. Okay. Is there any interesting thing with throwing the cap? And no, because the cutoff on 1-2 is on the C file.
Capturing C6 with D6 might be a play.
Or just keep playing flat.
That too. But capturing C6 with D6 is attack threat that would require capturing one of those rows.
Yeah. I would just be skeptical of flat on flat count captures here because they have, if you screw it up, you can all of a sudden put your opponent back in the game.
They're both pretty low on time. Fwib's down to 2.5 minutes. Abyss down to 1.5 minutes. Fwib here, I like the move of, unless I'm missing attack threat or something, I like the move of throwing up that A4 wall to cover up A5 and A6, and that would give him a plus, what is that, 2 flat count?
+2 over a normal move, yeah.
That would be because it was -2 black flats +1 white flat.
Yeah.
That's the move there.
Okay, so now I think that means black is only 1 up. After his turn, he's 1 up. So yeah, all of a sudden it's a little closer.
Still like capturing C6 with D6 here because that would be a good attack threat.
But it's
you
always
kind of force D4 to capture onto C4.
It's also important to remember black still has a resource, so he still has a +1 flat move, and in fact, currently moving to C5 right. That's with tack, which is always a bonus.
Yeah.
So now he's recovered one of the flats, and he has a threat.
I believe we'll see D4 capture C4.
Yeah.
Then we'll see D4 played by black, and that's another tack threat.
Yeah. We might instead see D1 or D2 over.
Yeah.
Because that makes a threat of that white makes a threat of his own, which is not a yeah, and I mean it's always possible that black is blind. That's another threat. This might be Tinue. So no. Okay.
I didn't even think of that move.
Now I assume black moves the wall back. Or not.
I places first. Then he'll move the wall back.
Yeah, I don't see Abyss losing this, but
Okay.
okay, so black's just maintaining his flat lead.
Yep. By giving white the opportunity to take back any prisoners.
Yeah, now black is up to +5.
Will
So
white play? Oh, I was expecting white to play C1 there.
yeah, another wall.
He
But
wants those captives.
yeah. But I mean okay. Did he just take the captives? Abyss maybe should have played a wall at B1 and then another wall at B2, just because he had the stuff to play with. Okay, that's a threat. So now we're going to see the wall come over, thrown to C1 to block the threat. I don't see anything else being reasonable. And then we'll see a black flat played on D5 to make a new threat, which might have to be blocked by capturing on B3 or capturing on E5. I guess the other option is for fwib to capture on C2.
I was looking at that option.
No, but he threw it. So what's the one?
I think D5 is where this is going to move here.
Yeah, so it's still +3 flats for black, I think. Yeah, D5 is the obvious move because that makes another
threat, and it's plus for flat count.
And he only has 2 flat. Oh, so he's just winning. If he plays there, then no matter what white does, he plays his last flat and wins.
Yeah. He might be searching for a road instead of flat count, though. Maybe he just really wants a road.
Doesn't sound like Abyss to me.
Or he's double checking his counting, because I know that Abyss is along with me with the a win is a win no matter what.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if it's road or flat or what.
Yeah, and so now, whatever fwib does, Abyss will play his last flat and win.
Mm-hmm.
Which leaves us with, after the first 2 games, Abyss should be up 1.5 to 1/2. So he's winning by one game.
No, well, he missed the tack. He covered it up. Never mind.
Yeah, it's good. All good. And now, Abyss will do one final count and then play a flat.
Yeah, because it's what, 11 to 13, I think, right now, and so that would be 12 to 13, or yeah, whatever it is, Abyss wins. 1, 2, 3. Black, which is 15.
11 to 13. So that's plus. Yep. So that's he wins by 1 flat. So
12 to 15. So it's 15 to 13, I think.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, so then black's up by 1, so that means white's up by 2. Okay.
All right, so Abyss takes game 2 from flats. Solid games from both of them, and they both ended very similarly. Abyss really dominated the end of that game and really just took control and was able to come ahead with the flat count win by putting lots of pressure and trapping that capstone where it was, not allowing it to move or crush any walls or do anything like that. So really kept the control, kept the momentum, and really didn't allow white to do much of anything besides respond to his multiple attack threats.
Yes. And that's where we will leave it. Yeah, we did.
Right, and so that is going to be it for us, and we will come back for games 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 whenever they shall be scheduled. fwib is not playing anymore tonight because it is 11 p.m. for him, and he is, as he says it, knackered because he's in London. So that's all for now. Thanks for joining in.